Hello again, I'm Sia, and welcome to the third episode of the Planting of the Lord podcast. On this episode, I am going to, I am going to talk about and demonstrate EFT tapping. As mentioned on my first episode, I learned about tapping from a book by Dr. Roger J. Callahan, where he introduced something he called thought field therapy. Here's an image of that book. And then I found EFT, which is short for Emotional Freedom Techniques, and that was developed by Gary Craig. Gary had training in TFT, and I found an e-booklet on his website and watched some videos that were available on that website, which at that time and until recently was emo3.com. But their current website is www.palaceofpossibilities.com, and it's called the official EFT and Optimal EFT website. And so here's one of the training CDs that I got back then, and it was, I think, probably close to 20 years ago. And here's CDs, lots of them. And there was, I don't know, maybe a half a dozen of these that I have, the EFT course, and different specialty sessions that they had. And since I'm not sure how many people that are visiting my podcast will be familiar with the topic of EFT tapping, I thought it would be a good idea to read the article that I wrote asking what is EFT before I do the demonstration. And so I will do that from my website right here. And if you go to my website, which is the address should be on my, well, it's hidden by the alright, the website address is https://isaiah613ministry.com. And don't put a www in front of it, because then it will say it can't be found. It's just https. And so if you're on my homepage, which I am right now, and you go to articles, what is EFT tapping is the article that I'm going to read right now. And so EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques, sometimes called tapping, the book that I originally started with, it was called Tapping the Healer Within. And it is a somewhat new approach to uncovering and helping to relieve emotional and spiritual strife and upset. It has been compared to psychological acupuncture without the needles. It can also be called a relaxation technique or energy therapy that helps you think more clearly about your problems. That makes it easier for you to make better decisions, as well as having increased peace of mind. You can use it as a self-help tool or alongside a coach or teacher or another professional. In many of the training videos, I'm going off the article for a moment, in a lot of the training videos were actually public or specialized sessions that Gary Craig held training psychologists and mental health professionals on the techniques. And so there are a lot of at least at the time there were a lot of them being trained in EFT. So it may appear a little strange or odd, and it also seems to go against some of the conventional wisdom about psychology and psychiatry and related topics. But don't let that stop you from trying it, because results generally come very quickly, but not every issue results in what Gary Craig used to call a 1-minute wonder. However, a lot of things can turn into 1-minute wonders, as it were. So EFT was developed as an adaptation of something called thought field therapy, which was developed by Roger J. Callahan, PhD. And there's a picture of the book, Tapping the Healer Within. So Gary Craig, after having training in TFT, he developed EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques, as an easier and less costly approach to TFT. I found Gary's website after reading Dr. Callahan's book and having become somewhat frustrated with the different formulas or tapping sequences, and Dr. Callahan calls them algorithms, and trying to figure out which one fit, since I was only getting partial relief using the algorithms or formulas in the book. And how does it work? I'm not a scientist, so this is just a layperson's explanation. I am also not a medical doctor, so please do your own research. If you have ever found yourself rubbing your forehead or temples when you're upset or tired, or impatiently drumming your fingers on a table while you're waiting for something, you've been using the principles behind EFT without being aware of it. What EFT can do is allow you to be more aware and specific, to more easily resolve whatever issues you are working with. We all have nervous system pathways or meridians, and EFT has a person tap, gently but firmly, on certain easy-to-reach points where these pathways are close to the skin's surface, related to those used in acupuncture. You do this, the tapping, while you are thinking about whatever the issue or past occurrence may be that brings about the negative emotion or feeling. Sometimes all you will have access to is the negative emotion or feeling, and tapping on that may bring to mind a specific incident. And even if it doesn't bring to mind a specific incident, you can still just tap on the emotion. I've done that many times when, I'm stuck in traffic or something. Having a specific incident in mind isn't required, though it is generally the fastest way to get to the root of an issue. The goal is to make it as painless as possible on the way to finding relief. There are some who say that one's thinking determines one's emotions, those who advocate change your thinking, change your life, and to some degree that's possibly or probably true. But the more I work with EFT, the more I believe that one's feelings or emotions impact one's thinking and behavior as well. In fact, advertisers, politicians, and others will frequently try to manipulate a person's feelings or emotions so that they will buy their solution. Some benefits of using EFT tapping are, with the introduction of the EFT instruction, in the introduction of the EFT instruction manual, it says, "You will indeed develop your ability to discard your fears, phobias, traumatic memories, anger, guilt, grief, and all other limiting emotions. And it won't take years and years of painstakingly slow and financially draining sessions either. Often, even the most severe negative emotions vanish in minutes." And that's from the EFT manual, the PDF copy, 4th edition. It was included with the EFT course on CD. And now, I will read at the bottom of the article, there's a disclaimer that says that EFT is a very flexible improvement tool that can be used for just about everything. I am using my version of it here and have had extraordinary results, and urge you to contact me for more information. You can see the contact information below or on my contact page. The original version and complete training can be found at www.emo3.com. However, that does now redirect to the Palace of Possibilities website that I mentioned earlier. And my contact information is also at the bottom of the page. Okay, so to give you a demonstration about how to do EFT, I will start off showing you the tapping points. And so, all right, excuse me. These are the tapping points from Dr. Callahan's book, the Tapping the Healer Within. And so this one shows you all of these points, and I'm going to show you the points I have on my website, the PDF. But these are the only one that is not on Dr. Callahan that a lot of us in EFT use is on the top of your head, and that's not here, but it'll be on the other one I'm going to show you. And then this one shows you what Dr. Callahan calls the PR spot, but Gary Craig calls the karate chop point, which is on the side of your hand. And then the 9 gamut point, or the gamut spot, is also illustrated here and on the other. Okay, and the reason I made a picture of this is because there are 2 finger spots that we don't really use in EFT. However, the index finger spot, which is, no, actually it's the little finger spot, I'm sorry. It's on the inside of your little finger right here. I will sometimes, if I just, maybe I'm stuck in traffic or something, well, sometimes just using this spot sometimes will give you some relief. You know, if you don't want to be tapping on your face or anything, you can just do this and it helps. It can sometimes be really helpful. All right. And then the tapping points that are available on my website are right here. Alright, so on my website, what you would do is go to, I'm sorry, okay, so I think I minimized my website. Alright, it should be there now. Yes, alright. So on my website, if you go to downloads, here are the EFT tapping points right here. And I have a free booklet available, EFT Using EFT for Spiritual Warfare, that I wrote several years ago. And I'm going to talk about that in the next episode. Close some of these tabs. Alright, so let me now go back to these tapping points. Alright, so on these tapping points we have the karate chop point right here, and then the sore spot Yeah, I don't use the sore spot very often. I usually use the karate chop point for the what's called the PR, or polarity reversal. I usually use the karate chop point. That is what is in the TFT, the tapping book. The sore spot, I believe, Gary Craig sometimes uses that for the polarity reversal instead of the karate chop point. And then we have on our face, we have the eyebrow point, which is at the end of your inner eyebrow. And then on the side of your eye is like the little bony spot on the side of the eye. And then under your eye, under your nose, and usually I use 2 fingers, and then the chin point right here. And I know that with my camera you can't see the collarbone point, but it's basically right at the beginning of the collarbone, and then go down just maybe a half an inch or so. It's where the junction where the sternum and the collarbone and the first rib meet, and you just tap on that a few times. For that I usually use 2 or 3 fingers. Okay, and then there's another one under your arm. So if you get like the middle of your armpit and then go down about 4 inches under your arm, that's what's called under your arm. And then for tapping the top of your head, I usually use 4 fingers and just kind of gently tap around the middle, right in the middle of your head. Just gently, very gently. It don't need to hit it or anything. And then occasionally, I personally don't really use the 9 gamut very often at all, but occasionally if you're a little stuck, like you're working on something and the intensity level or the SUD isn't going down. Maybe you do 1 round and it goes down from like a 9 to a 4, but then you do another 1 or 2 rounds and it's not moving at all. Sometimes the 9 gamut procedure can help because it has, you roll your eyes, you tap on, let's see if I can get it here, right here. You tap on that gently with your eyes, and then you close your eyes, open your eyes, put your eyes hard down to the right, and then hard down to the left. And then you roll your eyes in a circle clockwise, and then do it again counterclockwise. And I keep wanting to move my mouth as I'm rolling my eyes. Okay, and then you want to hum for a couple seconds a song, something like Mary Had a Little Lamb. And then you count rapidly, 1 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then hum again. And so that is the 9 gamut procedure. And so on my my tapping points, I do have what's called the basic recipe or procedure. And so there's no algorithms where you have to tap certain spots a certain number of times or anything. You just tap all of them from beginning to end. And so and I'm just looking at what I have written here. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate, and what I'm going to do is something that actually causes a little bit of negative feeling for me, is actually doing a podcast, because it's pretty much out of my comfort zone. I have a feeling that I felt called to do a podcast, but putting myself out there just isn't something. I usually prefer to work in the background and, stay out of the limelight. So that is what I'm going to tap on. And let me see, I think the feeling, I guess I'm going to say self-conscious. I feel a little self-conscious. And let me see, so what you do is, on a scale of 1 to 10 or 0 to 10, either one will work, you get the level of distress, and it's SUDS, so we'll call it the SUDS level, generally. If I'm coaching with you, also the SUDS, what's your SUDS level? So I think it's subjective unit of distress. I'm not sure what the last S means, but I can look it up. So in this case, I'm going to say a 7 or 8 is my level of distress, feeling self-conscious about doing a podcast. So you start off doing the PR point or polarity reversal, because it only takes a few moments, and if you have PR, then it's good to just go ahead and get it out of the way. And before I do my demonstration, I want to explain a little bit about that. If you are familiar with EFT, you probably know that Gary Craig has you say something like, even though I have this feeling self-conscious about doing a podcast, I deeply and completely accept myself. And he has you do it 3 times while you're tapping the karate chop point, or doing the sore spot. And so I consulted the Thought Field Therapy, the tapping book, and Dr. Callahan does have polarity reversal. He just has you do the karate chop point and just tap it like 5 times if you need to do that. And so there's no need to repeat it 3 times, because I do it. Sometimes I don't even say, even though, I have this issue, I deeply accept myself. Sometimes I just tap that, and then I tap on the emotion. So that's what I'm going to do, and I only do it, I'll do the reminder with that once. So even though I feel self-conscious about recording a podcast, I deeply and completely accept myself. Or at least I would like to deeply and completely accept myself. And then on the eyebrow point, feeling self-conscious. This side of the eye, feeling self-conscious. Under the eye, feeling self-conscious. Under the nose, feeling self-conscious. Chin point, feeling self-conscious. Collarbone point, feeling self-conscious. And then under the arm, feeling self-conscious. And tapping the top of the head, feeling self-conscious. Okay, and then you take a breath, and I would say I'm still feeling self-conscious, but it's better. It's down to maybe a 3 or so. So that's not bad. So then what I would do is, since it's not down to like a 1 or a 0, I can do it again, but this time it's remaining feeling, the remaining feeling of self-conscious or remaining fear. And so I will do one more round with the remaining fear of doing a podcast. So even though I have this remaining fear, some remaining fear of doing a podcast and being self-conscious, I deeply and completely accept myself. And then I'm doing it's a little challenging with glasses on, but eyebrow point, or side of eyebrow, yes. Feeling self-conscious. Side of eye, feeling self-conscious. Under eye, feeling fearful. Under nose, a little bit afraid. Chin point, feeling self-conscious. Collarbone point, feeling a little fearful. Remaining feeling fearful, remaining self-conscious. Remaining feeling fearful. Remaining self-conscious under my arm and the top of my head. Remaining being fearful. Okay, so I feel a lot better now. Alright, and then, so that's a demonstration of EFT, and I'm sorry that with my camera I can't show you, all the points, or you can't see them all. And I may do it again when I have a different camera, but right now the points are available on my website, and if we have personal coaching, I can probably use a different camera or a different computer. My laptop has more of all of me. Okay. So I also wanted to let you see, I have an article on my website called What to Expect. And I'll just talk about that for a moment. Let me see, where is that? Okay, so there's the downloads, and what I am looking for is on the appointments page I have what to expect during a tapping meeting. There's a link right there. So what to expect is that I will ask you for your name, but I don't necessarily need your last name. If you just want to give me your first name, that's okay. And I'll also ask how to get in touch with you, such as a phone number or an email address. And then I will do prayer. And if we're going to be using EFT tapping, I will either email you or physically mail you, if you need it, a copy of the EFT tapping points if you don't already have them or know them. And then after the appointment, depending on the issues, I will email scripture to tap on between appointments, or just as a reminder of replacing, maybe a negative emotion of fear or something with scripture about, that say fear not, and that sort of thing. And then I will also show you the tapping points. We'll go over the tapping points at the beginning of the meeting so that you're comfortable with them. And if we're meeting by phone or video, mostly probably video, it's good to have the points in front of you to be able to reference them. And since this coaching is not like a traditional therapy session, where you have to rehash things and go over them maybe multiple times and try to find relief that way, really, I don't generally need details about it at all if you don't want to give me details. And while we're talking, if some strong emotions come up while we're talking, we can actually just start tapping right away. You don't have to, try to kind of tough it out and, get the story complete before we start tapping. It's just when you're having the emotions, we'll start tapping. And then if the level goes down somewhat while we're, after the tapping, I may start asking some other questions about the background of the issue if you want to tell them. Any memories about that may be related to what you're feeling, any beliefs you may have about yourself in relation to that, and that will help me fine tune what we tap on. And I'll ask about your intensity, what the suds level is. And then sometimes I may say something that would have triggered that negative emotion as a way of testing to see if it's really gone or not. And it's not that I'm being what's the word, disrespectful or that sort of thing. It's basically that I'm testing to see, was this really resolved or not? And if it wasn't, then we may need to find another aspect of the situation or something to tap on so that we can really get it, get your negative emotions dealt with and out of the way so that they're not bringing you down. Okay, so that is all I have for this episode, and I thank you for listening. If you have comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the comments under the video, and you can also visit my website and contact me through the different options I have listed on my website. And so thank you for tuning in, and have a good day.